Hello and welcome back to the SWAN Pricing Show. My name is Filip Vucic. I'm a pricing mentor.
I'm Philip Zolota, business mentor.
Today we want to talk about pricing as a part of planning, I think, and the differences that occur when you take into account that what we're doing is not very standardized and not very, let's say, um, easy to calculate. Because normally when you talk about pricing, people hear calculation. So yeah, I need some time to calculate my price. And sure, calculation is an important part. It's just not the most important part. It's not the first part. It's the probably the final part, or the like initial setup part.
Mhm.
But in what we like to call duck businesses, in commodities and commoditized services, it's very easy to quantify. So, how many bricks is that? Okay, per brick times the number of bricks you just said, that would be about that much. And now we can talk about delivery or whatever, right? Um, but everybody knows what a brick is, right? And everybody knows what an hour of waiting tables is services. Um, or an hour of, I don't know, banking, right? With a personal banker or stuff like that, right? Um, what's an hour of design, right? Yeah, we can design, logos, posters, car seats, UX for whatever you like. Just how many hours do you need, right?
Mhm.
I mean, who's doing the designing and what are they designing is much more important than how many hours of design, because you can be a little bit faster if you're really good as a waiter, but you can be a lot faster if you know what you're doing as a designer, let alone programmer, right? Um, and this is why the math doesn't work when you know that famous expression that just as three women cannot bear a child in 3 months, you cannot simply add two additional programmers to a programming job and cut its time by a third. That's not a thing, right? And it should be a thing if it was commoditized. So if you have 30 tables and you have three people, the math is going to work out. If you add two more waiters, you're going to have it all done in 1/3 of a time, approximately, of course, with some losses, blah blah, but approximately. Here, no, 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 it doesn't work,
It
right?
doesn't work, yeah.
So um I think the ease of quantification is completely different in what we like to call the SWAN pricing case, right? It's very hard to quantify things, and it cannot be quantified before asking a lot of questions first. Um, and then what I think you talked about in the pre-show is you cannot thrive by simply um, charging for delivery,
Exactly.
right? People think about stuff and educate themselves and do research and do all sorts of stuff and discard some options and then deliver an option or deliver a solution, right? But you cannot simply charge for delivery. Otherwise, you would be like, you order from Amazon and you pay only for delivery, right? Well, yeah, it's a 100 200 pounds piano, um and you pay for delivery and that's it, right? Who cares? I mean, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. You ordered it from far away, so everything is square. You just pay for delivery, right? That is I mean, a piano is a chunky thing, but so is an idea. You can't touch it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And it can be worth a lot more. A solution, not just an idea, can be worth a lot more than a lot of wood and some strings, right? So I think you had an example of that.
Practically, we touched also on the point of the design. It's always making me laugh when companies are providing any kind of proposal. Okay, how much hours do you need for what? For being a strategic advisor, for doing something creative. We don't know. Maybe a year, maybe two, maybe five, maybe 10. And also on the other side, as you mentioned, you are practically that way. With that approach, you are putting the bad constraints on the scalability of your business. Because what's happening if you set up only as a math calculation for your business, move forward, starting what is often happening in the development? Yeah, we'll be charging 60 bucks per hour. That's it. That is what we are aiming for in case we receive 100. Wow, awesome, great. What do you say about that you are actually being paid 1,000, 2 or 3, 5 per hour? It's impossible. Don't sell hours, for God's sake. Bring solution on the table. Do not invoice, as you mentioned, for the technical delivery, but for the strategic thinking, for the plan, for the big stuff, the valuable, and also both tangible and quantifiable. In the end, in every possible aspect, you can make, in the end, the proper calculation and how much value something brought to the table. If you pay for some expert to set up the business plan, to build the optimized manufacturing process, whatever, everything can be quantified, meaning it's very tangible and you'll easily see, make the proper calculation, okay, how much value you gain through the implementation of that respectable scenario, service, product, whatever. And that is pretty much it. The problem with the experts and their respectable fields is the fact that they are asking to be paid per hour. Like, okay, I need 3 kilograms of bananas slash development. I need at least 15 kilograms of UX UI design, and we'll be coming up with something. And in the end, what is the worst case scenario? You're transforming yourself in the eyes of your client as the hourly guy. Okay, how many hours do you need?
Yes, I think the expression is you're pigeonholing yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
pigeonholing yourself, so you're putting yourself in a known category that you really don't belong into, and you're limiting yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard to step out of that role.
Mm-hmm.
Once they pay you for this, they see you as that, right?
Yeah. And there is,
And
for me, not to forget this, that specific situation. Also, big problem there. Those companies which are focused on the cost savings. We are paying you, for example, 100 bucks per hour, but this guy gives us for 40. What that is? Is it technical delivery? Is it creative thinking, strategic thinking, big plan, or whatever? It's uncomparable. And as you said, you're putting in the wrong ecosystem, and it's bad as the approach, even for those who are not focused only of cost saving and cost cutting. You are shooting your leg. That's the problem. It's your fault that you created that new paradigm and the approach and how people perceive.
Yeah, and it's a classic thing, because the engineering approach is, what gets measured gets improved. That's fine, but they don't really know how to measure value.
Yeah.
Because, to cut a long story short, it's not really objective. There is no objective way to calculate value. It's not a calculation per se. It is a consideration. It is an analysis. It is a conversation. It's not a calculation, though. And then very often the thought slips to, never mind, let's just quantify what we can quantify and work from that, right? Oh, I can't quantify that, so I'll just charge per hour more,
Mhm.
right? I'll just charge more per hour. Um, and so the classic example of this is how the developers used to be paid in the first like 2 decades of the existence of computer programmers, since they started programming with screwdrivers on these huge computers, which especially after they started typing. So you had these big companies, and they had to you know find a way to quantify the work. They were like, okay, so what did these people do? Well, nobody really understands. Not in management. Not, I mean, they do stuff to computers. Then computers can do stuff. What do they do? Well, they type it on a keyboard. I know. We already pay people for that. The secretaries, they are paid by the line that they type. Great. Just, pay these guys more per line, because they're harder to get by than secretaries. So,
Down to
supply
keystrokes. That's it.
demand, the law, and so that's how it went for like 2 decades. Because that was the only thing that they could think of how to measure, and that was the only thing they charged, right? There's a really good book that's called How to Measure Anything.
Mhm.
I'll have to look up um, I think the Hubbard, yeah, Hubbard is the surname of the author. Um, so he made a career. He did nothing else but quantify, well, measure things which were hard to measure. It's a fascinating book, and he's simultaneously the most boring and the most interesting guy that I've ever. So, um, anyway, no, it's a fascinating read, and I think it's a wonderful career. But anyway, um, we wanted to talk about not just quantification but planning, because planning requires quantification of some kind, right? And thriving and profiting, and I mean surviving with a business usually, and ideally it involves some planning. um and just how your clients do it, they have budgets, you should as well, because otherwise you're trying to catch up from behind, right? And I don't know what the first what the first thing, professional thing, that you were ever paid for. What was the first job that you were? So I don't mean like teenage jobs. I mean a professional job in
Professional.
your
Yeah,
career.
yeah. I was doing some sysadmin stuff. Yeah, yeah.
I was doing business plans, right? I was doing business plans, and I was basically following, bank prescripted checklists, right?
Mhm.
And in on the face of it, they were asking for some very basic thing, for some very basic processes and facts that the people who wanted a loan from a bank, for which they needed a business loan, right? For they needed a business plan. I mean, they dealt with those processes and those facts every day, right? Um, but so that, and some very basic like third grade math. So if you could multiply, you're good, you know. Um, so and that I figured out, to my surprise, that I could get paid to do that for people, because it seemed very basic for me, and it kind of is, but it absolutely isn't, because um, that math and those facts are quite useless if you don't actually understand the market.
Yeah.
And you can calculate all you like, because the formulas are not uh, uh, um, um, hard, right? The whole thing is a balance between costs and revenue. And costs are easy. You just ask around and say, okay, how much would it cost to do this? Uh-huh, okay, that much, thank you, right? Now you have it. If they don't know, somebody else will. And now you have a list of costs, you sum them up. um I mean, with some encouragement and fruit juices, I think my 8-year-old could do that, right? um and revenue has, I mean, the simplest formula in the world, right? Price per unit times the quantity you sell. You just plonk those numbers too, multiply them on a calculator, and you're done, right? Well, okay, so what's the price? Oh, now we're coming to a problem because there's so few sources, reliable sources, about non-commoditized goods and services. It's, I mean, even for commoditized, it's pretty hard to get by. But for non-commoditized, there's basically none. And even if you had data, which you absolutely don't, what do you do then? Do you go with the penetration price, or do you go lower, or do you go higher to attract better higher paying types of clients, and suggest something about there's so many things that you can do. Do you bundle? Do you unbundle? There's just a million things, and they're they they don't know how to do that. Um, they usually got by copying somebody else's price, which is also guesswork, just like theirs would be, right? So they're not ready for this. They're not ready for an analysis of why they're charging what they're charging, because they never dared to think about it. And I mean, quantity. Okay, so how many crystal balls do you have? Um, and of course, I mean, you can estimate, but when you're getting a loan, you're betting your house on this. So how good of a guesser are you? um, so and this is where you get those ridiculous. And I wrote those, right, because I couldn't really find anything else. But if we just take 1% of this market, which we calculated on the basis of some 10-year-old statistics from another country, um, you know, if we just capture 1%, everything will be fine. Yes, sure, and that means absolutely nothing. It's a special technical sort of magical thinking. So, um, yeah. So the math is the easy part. Once you get to those numbers, so getting those numbers and getting them reliably is the hard part. So understanding the market enough in order to get any numbers at all is the hard part. And then the math is just whatever. It is the very, 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 very least important part, right? And the one that is easiest to do and easiest to check, and easiest to know that you are right on that. But arriving to those numbers, and this is basically why I stopped doing business plans, because I was frustrated. Um, don't get me wrong, I was good, and people got bank loans because I couldn't do it, but properly, but neither could anybody else do much better. Since I had a few clients who were much more professional than me in doing that. I was a student back then. But so it was good, but it was also absolutely not. And I got frustrated by that, and I migrated out of that because I couldn't tolerate that much of an issue with getting, I basically went on to study business analysis in order to counter this dread of oh God, where the hell will I get any numbers that I can apply this wonderful simple math to, right? um and yeah, so um I think when we're talking about non-commoditized goods, 85% of the job is understanding the market. So who are you selling to, and who else is going to be selling to them? It doesn't have to be direct competitors at all. It doesn't have to be within the same state, country, or continent at all. At these, and how much will they charge, and what are the pros and cons of that, and what's the cost of the status quo? Do they know that? Can they see this? all of these things which are not math come before the math, and math is just 15. Once we get to math, we're good. It's the last 15%, and basically it's mopping up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Exactly. You'll see generally what's happening on the market, especially when um, people are kind of parting ways in collaboration. Oh, we were paying this amount for the previous provider, blah blah. Now it's cheap. How much something is worth? The amount you are being paid for, no matter
Yes,
what that is. And as you said, math, you're not leaving it behind. It's smart and good to have it in terms of calculation and for
absolutely.
understanding the operational costs, but also the perspective of value and what you are bringing in the entire scenario with the clients. Surely having on mind all what you have said a few seconds ago. And that's it.
I like to call it the foundation. So
Yeah,
when you're building a building,
yeah.
it's really smart to have a foundation. You should have a foundation, but that's also just about technical specifications. There's no taste. There is no location considerations apart from a few that I could. So there's very limited factors in making a foundation, and you know you did it right. You do it by regulation. You get a check mark. Great. Now how about that house?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really do much. Once you did all of the foundation, which is very important. So I'm not knocking math. I'm just saying it's not all there is. You can't place the foundation and say, here's a house. It's not. It's not a field anymore. It now has some concrete bits sticking out. Great, that's not a house. I know what a house is, and that ain't it, right? Okay, so um, I think this was fairly comprehensive.
Yeah.
Um, do your math, people. Just don't think you did all of the work by doing all of the math, right? And I think I've seen people give business plans to accountants. That can be a good or a bad idea depending on what part you give them. So once you get all of the numbers, which is the uh, uh, lion's share of the work, sure, why not? But if you can't, then you need somebody else that can, and that's not me for like 20 years or so. Um, but I know people who do that really well, right? And so do you. Um, yeah, I was stopped here in the middle of a thought. Did you want to say something for the end?
No, nothing special. Practically, we covered everything what is relevant to the topic, and also the only thing I would emphasize, and
Yeah.
it's direct connected what you said. Simply don't be afraid, and that is the problem. We are asking too much. What is actually too much? In which perspective? Which glasses? The type, the sort, the material you are wearing to define the scope. Also on the example of real estate in the house you mentioned, you have operating costs. But what is the actual value? The market value you can achieve. And we
Yes.
know how it goes and what's happening on the global market only within the realm of real estate. We can compare that and mention all various accessories, jewelry, watches, cars, etc., etc. One thing is operation cost and production, and another thing, the amount which people are ready to pay for. And it's actually not generating uh, the true value in business in business of expertise. You actually create something meaningful, setting up proper foundation and striving forward, or helping somebody to strive forward with their business. So it's actually a strong impact.
Yes. Thank you. Where can people find you, Philip?
People can find me on LinkedIn always, and also on my mentorship page, philipzalata.com.
Um, I'm usually easily identified on fearless minus pricing or fearless dash pricing.com. And of course, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, and all of the good places. Um, Philip, thank you very much, and see you next time.
See you. Bye bye.